people that I've been working with, what has been a very long and exhausting but very important process. You know, when we looked at the question of expanding the region to include elementary schools, we brought together a group of people who were members of select board, school committees, finance committees from the communities, and spent a lot of time at it. And I think the important thing to remember for the number of years that has gone on, that 11 of the 12 initial members are still working hard and serving in this process because they understand the importance for all of our communities in exploring this possibility and looking at it thoroughly, but looking at it from the perspective of both the region and each of the individual towns that are members of the region. And one of the things that has been particularly important for those of us who've been serving in this process is how much we've learned from each other about our various communities and how much we've come to respect the particular needs of each other, and that has become a part of the sort of the ethic of the process going forward. As you know, we started by serving as a regional school district planning board with the idea that we would form a new region, possibly a region for elementary schools to run in parallel with the region that we have for the 7 to 12 schools. And then after giving that a lot of consideration, came to the conclusion that a better approach was to look at the current region and think about how the current region can be expanded in a way that works for us as a four-town region to cover all of the grades PK to 12. And where we are ending up as a group, now that we're serving as a working group of the school committee as opposed to a planning board, is to get a report to the school committee that has to do with, this is what we could do to create an amendment to the current regional agreement that would expand the region to include grades PK to 12, but recognize that some of the towns that are members of the region may conclude that even though they support that kind of an arrangement as a whole, for their town, they need to have their elementary school be a separate entity and continue with a separate school committee. So what we have come to is what we've dubbed a hybrid region, and there is a model for that, and the model is Mohawk. And the Mohawk region has some towns participating for all grades and some towns only participating in members of the region but participating for the grades 7 to 12. And that has been a very effective model for them. We think that it is something that is a good model for us. So where we are at now as a regional agreement working group is that we're probably within the last month of work, right? We have asked Ginny Tate, who's the attorney for the regional school district, to take the current regional agreement and to do a markup version of all of the amendments that would need to be made to implement the recommendations that the regional agreement working group has come to have a functional hybrid region, and to have that document be a core part of the discussion. And once that has been reviewed by the regional agreement working group, I think that we're going to be at the end of our work. We'll have that accompanied by a narrative report, and then it goes back to the regional school committee for the next part of the process. We do think, obviously, because we've stuck with it this long, that this is an approach that works, because for towns that feel that they need to have their elementary school be separate and that that's what is the best for their town, that they'll have the opportunity to vote, say, yes, let's create this hybrid region, and then in a second vote say, but this is the decision that we're making as to whether or not we want our elementary school to be a part of it. I won't go into all of the details of the complexity of that, because there are certain factors that have to be worked in. For example, most obviously, if Amherst is, because of the size of the schools, we can't give Amherst the option to pull out. The other towns can, but if Amherst was not participating for elementary, then the structure wouldn't work. So there are a lot of pieces to come. Where it goes now, and I'm sorry that Trevor couldn't join us this morning, because what happens now is that we will complete the report, we will turn it over to the school committee. The school committee has to engage in a process, and the process I can't speak to, because Trevor and the school committee have to work out what they believe is the appropriate process and how they're going to reach out to the towns to talk about whether to bring something forward and when to bring something forward. The when question is, since it would be an amendment to the regional agreement, and the regional agreement says that there has to be a vote at the school committee to send something to the town meetings, and then there has to be a vote in each of the town meetings. So there's a whole sequencing there. So whether they could do something as early as the annual town meetings in the spring, or whether it would be a special town meeting later in the year, or whether it would not even be within the next cycle of town meetings, we don't know. The only thing I can tell you is that if you want to have something that's effective for change on July 1 of 16, it has to be at a town meeting during calendar year 15, so that it could be the annual or special town meetings. But that's the decision that the school committee needs to make, and it's once we've completed our work and give the report, and which includes that what would be the markup version of the regional agreement to the regional school committee, then it shifts to a regional school committee process, and our work is done, other than the support that we can give to the school committee going forward. So that's basically it.
Thank you, Andy. John?
Yeah, Andy.